Chill and Learn English podcast. Learn English the chill and easy way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Chill and Learn English podcast. I'm May, and joining me today is the awesome Alex.
Hey. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're all feeling ready to improve your English because we've got a super exciting topic for you.
That's right, Alex. Today we're going to talk about something a lot of learners struggle with. If you've ever found yourself thinking, I can understand English, but I can't speak it well, then this episode is definitely for you.
This is such a common struggle, and we're here to break it down. By the end of this episode, we're going to help you with some tips and tricks to get you thinking in English and speaking with more confidence.
All right, let's dive in and get started.
Before we jump into the conversation, I want to ask you all a few questions to think about. First, when you try to speak English, do you find yourself translating everything from your first language in your head before you speak? Second, when you listen to English, do you feel confident understanding the words but struggle to reply? And finally, when you speak English, do you feel like your mind goes blank? Maybe you have the words in your head, but you can't seem to get them out.
Great questions. Think about them as we dive into our conversation, and we'll come back to these at the end. So, Alex, why do you think so many people understand English but can't speak it very well?
There are actually a few reasons for this. First off, it's because most people focus a lot on listening and reading, but don't practice speaking enough.
Yes. Listening is passive. You hear the words and understand them, but when it's time to speak, you have to use the language actively. You know, put your brain to work.
Exactly. And then there's also the fear of making mistakes. This is huge. Many learners are scared to speak because they don't want to say something wrong.
Oh, yes, the dreaded fear of making mistakes. I get it. But let me tell you, Alex, every time you speak, even if it's a mistake, you are actually learning.
That's right, May. And another thing that can stop people from speaking is that they're used to translating. You know, they translate everything from their native language to English in their head, which slows them down.
It's like your brain has to run two different language programs at once. That's exhausting.
Exactly. And that's why we recommend practicing thinking directly in English. Start thinking in English without translating.
What's the biggest challenge you face while learning English? Share your struggles in the comments below, and we'll create more tailored videos to help you overcome them. Now let's take a quick break to go over some words that came up in our conversation.
Focus means to give your full attention to what you are doing or to what is happening. For example, I find it hard to focus today.
Put something to work on means to actively use something, such as a skill, trait, or object. For example, put that broom to work and sweep up this garage, will you?
Exhaust means drain someone of their physical or mental resources. Tire out. For example, the trip had exhausted her.
To be used to doing something. If you are used to something, you are familiar with it because you have done it or experienced it many times before. For example, she is used to waiting for him.
Native language is the first language a person has been exposed to from birth or within the critical period. For example, her native language is Chinese.
So, Alex, what's the first thing someone can do to start thinking in English?
Well, May, the first thing I always recommend is to surround yourself with English. Immerse yourself. Watch movies, listen to podcasts, and read books in English. The more you're surrounded by English, the easier it will be to start thinking in English.
Yes. The more you hear English, the more natural it becomes. And if you're listening to something that you enjoy, like your favorite music or movie, it doesn't even feel like work.
Exactly. And another tip is to speak out loud. Even if you're alone, talk to yourself in English. Describe your day or talk about what you're doing. It's a great way to practice thinking and speaking in English at the same time.
Oh, I love this. You can say things like, I'm drinking coffee, or I'm sitting on my couch listening to a podcast. It helps you connect English words with actions, and it gets your brain used to English.
And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Trust me, you'll find yourself speaking English with confidence.
All right, but here's a fun one, Alex. Use images to help you think in English. For example, when you learn a new word, don't just translate it. Connect it with an image in your mind. That way, when you hear the word later, you'll instantly think of the image, not your first language.
Wow, that's a great tip. It's like when I learned the word mountain. I didn't think of the translation. I thought of a huge, tall mountain. The image makes it stick.
Exactly. So try it out next time you learn a new word. Connect it to an image and see how that helps you remember it.
And one more great tip is to think in English while doing daily activities. When you're cooking, driving, or walking, describe what you're doing in English.
So, while cooking, you could say, I'm chopping vegetables, or I'm boiling water. This helps train your brain to think in English naturally without having to translate.
And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to speak in English without thinking too much about it.
Translate means to change words from one language to another. For example, he translated the sentence from Spanish to English.
Immerse means to surround yourself with something completely, like immersing yourself in English by watching movies and listening to podcasts. For example, you should immerse yourself in English by watching movies and listening to podcasts.
Confidence means to believe in yourself and your abilities. For example, speaking with friends helped boost her confidence in English.
Describe means to say what something is like or what's happening. For example, describing your day helps you practice thinking in English.
Out loud. If you say or read something out loud, you say or read it so that other people can hear you. For example, I had to read the poem out loud in front of my classmates. Now, we want to know from you. Have you ever felt like you can understand English but can't speak it? Why do you think that happens?
Leave us a comment below and let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts and struggles.
So, we hope today's episode helped you understand why thinking in English can be hard and gave you some useful tips to practice it more easily.
Remember, everyone's learning journey is different, but the key is to practice, practice, and practice. Don't be afraid of making mistakes and keep challenging yourself.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Chill and Learn English podcast, so you can continue learning with us. Also, check out the free PDF in the description for more vocabulary and tips from today's episode.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing, and we'll see you next time. Stay confident and happy learning.